Well, I finished this project a year ago and said I'd make a video, so I'm finally doing it. Back in 2019, I made this TV helmet thing out of a broken TV I had in storage and 396 hand-soldered LEDs. It was a big hit for Halloween, and I wore it around Magfest 2020, but it had a lot of issues. Visibility was poor, the display really wasn't high enough resolution for much, and it was way too heavy to wear for long periods. In February 2020, I came across these perforated 18 by 32 LED matrix panels. I haven't seen these style panels for sale since then. I'm guessing they're just hard to make reliably or something. Anyway, they looked like a perfect upgrade, so I ordered 2 of them, wired them up, and started modifying my existing code to run on the new display. Then I decided there was no reason to finish a project like this anytime soon. Fast forward to summer 2022. I was working on some other projects when Stray came out and reminded me of this shelved TV head upgrade. If I wanted to make it lighter, I would need to make a custom housing anyway, so why not make one of these robots? I took some screenshots in the game and scaled everything so the face screen matched the LED panels. The more complex parts I modeled in FreeCAD. To actually make the pieces, first I needed a vacuformer. I made it basically just large enough to fit the parts on. There's a lot of videos on building these, and really all that's special about this one is that it fits over the heater that's already mounted on the ceiling in my shop, and the workpiece just drops straight down on these aluminum rails. All the bucks for forming were made of MDF. I cut the face on the CNC and formed that first before doing anything else. The first pull was way too hot, but the rest turned out fine. Then I did the sides. Since they're mirror images with no surface details, I could just flip the piece and they were both done. The other parts were made by gluing up several boards and cutting them on the table saw. The chin, in particular, has a lot of weird compound angles and curves that mostly just required a lot of trial and error until they looked right. The wire connectors are just standard cable glands, so I cut 1-inch holes for them and screwed them into place. I made the ear buck in 2 parts. These were cut with a table saw circle cutting jig, including the conical part. I wouldn't recommend cutting a cone like this. It didn't feel very safe even with a lot of distance between my hands and the blade, and I still had to do a lot of hand finishing to make it look decent. Realistically, I probably could have just ordered a plastic cone with the right slope and cut it to fit. The back and the top of the head were very simple. They're just 45-degree angles and flat faces. It was around this point in the process that I started to feel pretty sick, and Magfest was only like a week away. Thankfully, all the big power tool stuff was done, but I needed to get things assembled in case there were any major issues, so I mostly gave up on recording my progress just to get things finished. Everything was tacked together with a bead of polyurethane foam, and once that's set, I added more for reinforcement. The ears have this hex grid pattern in them. I used a couple of computer fan grills and shoved some foam in behind them. The intentional seams were filled with black silicone sealant I had lying around. The faceplate has a frame glued to it that the LED panel attaches to. This is just a chunk of hardboard that I embedded some magnets in that match magnets in a plastic frame I made for the LED panel. I really wanted the whole faceplate to be removable, so after trying a few things, I used more of the same magnets embedded in the foam so that the front is secure but can be pulled off if I need to get to my real face. The old version was built around an ESP32 and had a microphone for some basic sound reactivity. For the new version, I wanted to load images from an SD card and do something fancier for the sound. At first I built a circuit around the MSG EQ7, which is a classic analog audio chip for music visualizations. Sadly, this only worked on the bench and had to be disabled. This was more or less the state of it at Magfest 2023, but I have since made a few upgrades. I swapped the ESP32 for an ESP32S3. The biggest benefit is an extra coprocessor that can run Adafruit's NeoPixel 8 library. This offloads the LED refresh from the main CPU, and with that extra CPU time, I can use Espressif's DSP library to process the microphone input. I ran into a problem where the spectrum analyzer doesn't work right unless there's a 5-volt source plugged into the board. I could try to figure this out, but for now I just have a boost converter hanging off the side. There's also audio playback from the SD card, but it turns out it's hard to make it loud enough on the outside without being too loud on the inside, so I removed the speaker to reduce the overall weight. Overall, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think if I were doing it all over again, I'd make it a little bit smaller and make the back piece removable for an easier way to get my head in and out. I'd also really like some way other than my phone to control it. I'm thinking about adding a wee nunchuck or something, but haven't tried it yet. And of course it could always look better in higher resolution. Since these LED panels are no longer available, if anything happens to them, I'll probably need to design custom ones. With the NeoPixel 8 library, I could drive way more LEDs, and I think I could probably pack them a little closer without losing much visibility. Thanks for watching.